Now let's move on to Washington. Treasury Secretary Stephen Mnuchin says he's considering a trip to China to discuss the trade dispute that finance chiefs warned could derail the global economic upswing. Mnuchin says he's cautiously optimistic of reaching an agreement with Beijing. Bloomberg editor Roz Krasny is following it all from Washington. Ross, what else do we know about Steve Mnuchin's possible trip to China? What have you been hearing about this?
Well, we don't know very much so far. He talked about it, as you say, for the first time Saturday at the IMF meeting, so he kind of laid out the idea. He says he's cautiously optimistic of making progress on trade with China, and it did seem that overnight we heard from Beijing that they're aware that Secretary Mnuchin has plans to come over. So I think these plans sort of like the Trump Kim Jong-un talks, a little bit in the infancy at this point, but it sounds like possibly the first breakthrough we've seen in this whole kind of tit-for-tat on trade between the U.S. and China. And as you also mentioned, and I'm sure that the Trump administration is aware of this, the IMF and others have really seen trade tension and protectionism as the one element or one of the main elements out there that could derail a really sort of robust world economic outlook. So that's got to be playing into their ideas a little bit. And I also wonder if, given all that's happening with the U.S. and North Korea, if the White House is kind of taking a pretty diverse and global view to try to sort of keep tensions down all the way across the board, and wondering if tamping down trade tensions with China is another way to get them on board for whatever may happen with North Korea.
Ros, the French President Emmanuel Macron has struck up a real rapport with Trump. Is there some hope that he might be able to influence the US on trade? Yeah,
interesting that young Macron and Trump, one of the older U.S. presidents, have a very strong rapport, and Trump really seems to like Macron very much. So in a way, Macron early in the week and then Angela Merkel from Germany later in the week are coming to bend Trump's ear and really to stick up for what I would say is the global trading system, the World Trade Organization. Certainly, I think Trump is probably keener to hear from Macron than he is from Merkel. So the two of them have some pretty extended meetings on Tuesday at the White House, as well as a state dinner. And I think there's a little bit of optimism that Macron will bring that message to the White House. He said in an interview with Fox that ran this morning, you cannot make a trade war with your ally. So he's definitely looking for relief from U.S. sanctions on aluminum and steel, and basically, in a way, maybe to position Europe and the U.S. as less competitors, as possibly allies against China. So that's some of the dynamics that are going on. And again, Macron early in the week, Merkel later in the week.